Well, hello out there. Welcome to the second attempt where Comic Cam has saved the day because, oh, look at this. As soon as we get started, it looks like the computer is going to work with StreamYard, but we're going to stick with Comic Cam, right? So I hope everybody is having a fantastic Memorial Day weekend. And I'm glad you were able to check the 10 minutes for those of you who were there, the 10 minutes of just pure chaos of trying to get this going to show off these wonderful books that I have gotten and some vinyl and some surprises. If you see the thumbnail for this live stream, you know some of the spoilers are already there. So let's set us up here and we'll get started. So today is, if I recall right, May 25th. It is around noon for you people in the future Eastern Standard Time. And I want to show you some books that I've gotten, right? I will no longer be talking about where I was able to purchase some of these things. I may come online here in a minute uh, with a few other things here. But let's just say that these are from yard sales and flea markets and such, right? I see some comments coming in. Are they going to let me do those? Hey, Gorvidal is letting me know that it has been the worst of times and all that stuff. The computer is now starting to update again. Okay. So I hope everyone is enjoying it. It's a beautiful day here. Looks like we're going to have a little bit of rain. I decided to do this live stream so that I can get on with my day and enjoy this 3-day holiday for you people in the States here, right? So we'll just get right off the bat here. For you people who follow the channel, you know that I had surgery over a month ago. And was not able to, it caused me to miss the free comic book day, if you will, right? So Eric Breen, the professor, a man of many virtues and is very busy in the YouTube comic book community. You can find him on many channels. I was able to acquire the two free comic book day books that I was really wanting to get a hold of because these go back to my childhood. This is Johnny Quest, and I understand there's quite a bit of demand for this through Mad Cave Studios, I believe. Nope, Dynamite. Excuse me, it's through Dynamite. It's going to have Joe Casey writing it, and this will be a series I think that starts in July of 2024. And he was able to get Gatchaman #0. The significance of these, because I'm an old man now, is that in 1978, in the last century, go figure that one out, I was able to belly crawl down my hallway on a Saturday morning just so that I could be able to watch these syndicated cartoons in the mornings before the networks took over. So from 6 to 8, you had syndicated stuff, and I believe this was at 6. This was at 7:30. Somewhere along the line, they snuck in a little show called Mr. Snuggles, and I know there was something else that I can't recall. So I had the complete Kamiko series, the one shots, a few of the Dark Horse books. I think it was Dark Horse in the 90s. And then I had the 1964 Gold Key / Dale one shot based on the Lizard Man episode of this, right? So this is fantastic, and I'll probably be collecting this, right? And then Breen was also to get me to be able to he got me the Gatchaman, Space Ninja Gatchaman, Battle of the Planets, G-Force. And this is through Mad Cave Studio. Good for them. There'll be 2 one-shots and then a 4-issue miniseries based on our protagonist, if you will. And the problem is when you go from the original Space Ninja Gatchaman of the 70s, and then the English dubs that they did for Saturday morning as Battle of the Planets, and into the 80s with G-Force, all the same cartoon, but different dubs. They're giving all the characters different names, and it's really thrown me off a little bit when I flip through this, because this is, to me, this is Princess, but they call her June. Maybe that's the original Gatchaman names. I'm kind of blank. I had them on DVD, but it's been forever since I've seen them. And they were edited down due to the violence that was, apparently just fine over Japan. But in America, they were like, let's not get those moms mad. So that was great. So Mad Cave Studios will be bringing out quite a bit of stuff. And I was able to accumulate Asterix, which is one of I absolutely love this. If you know what that is, in Flash Gordon. So like I said, we're just going to be moving along here a little bit. And as we're talking here, I'm going to be checking the internet to see if I can't get the stream going proper here. Nice, nice, nice. So, one of the things that came in is that I went ahead and got an early order for Gmart. I did not let this accumulate to $85 to get free shipping. There was one or two things I ordered for friends, and I wanted to get that for them. And then this was also in there, right? But this is the Crisis on the Infinite Earths facsimile edition foil variant in the year of 2024. And I'm assuming that this is because next year, 2025, this will be the believe it or not, the 40th anniversary of Crisis on Infinite Earths that came out during the 50th anniversary of DC. Go figure that, right? Talk about time flying by. And I collected this month for month. We know what Crisis is, and every month they're coming out with the reprint series so you can get it. I often have to tell the younger collectors that decide to dive into Crisis, especially over the last 10 years, is you cannot sit down and read all 12 issues in a row and think you're going to get a story that you're used to seeing. Because of this, they have grown up in a period of time where comics have very little, what's the word, decompressed storytelling, where there's as little dialogue as possible, no thought balloons, very little exposition, and things like that, right? This is loaded with a lot of information, fast-paced storytelling, fantastic work, and it is actually in 4 parts with an interlude with issue number 9. It's like a 3-act play. Nothing like this had been attempted, and I think Marv Wolfman did fantastic. But if you sit there and try to read all 12 issues through and through, and you've only been reading comics for, let's say, since Bendis started, somewhere in that time period, Brian Michael Bendis, who gives you a bunch of nothing, talking heads at times and things like that. Read one of his books in 3 minutes, if you will. But these books were designed, this is from an era where once you bought one issue, you could read and reread it several times by the second issue because there's just so much in there. So that's I made that interesting. So I have a complete set that I completed month to month when I was 12. George Perez, Marv Wolfman have signed those beat up issues, and I'm always picking these up. So when I got something off of eBay, the same seller had this. This is number 5. It's in mid grade. I think I just need 2 issues from having 2 complete sets or something. But I absolutely love this cover because of all the heads of Earth 1 and Earth 2, if you will, that George Perez has put on there. This is really artwork by Perez 39 years ago that you can just stop and study. It's just fantastic. And then I had to get this. This is one of those books that sort of disappeared from my collection, if you will, right? This is the first appearance of Rose, Deathstroke, the Terminator's daughter, who would later become, what was it? She took her brother's name. I wanted to say scavenger, but that doesn't sound right. A lot has been going on this morning. Yeah, computer is still not working over here. I'm doing several things here, right? But anyway, this is part of the Total Chaos crossover of 1992. And if you were around collecting comics in 1992, you had the buzz of Image, you had Valiant going on, coming up those ranks that started in 91. A lot of talent had left Marvel. DC was sort of, everybody was a little bit struggling stuff with what to do. And in the year at Heroes Con, where Marv Wolfman and George Perez both signed my Crisis on Infinite Earths books, Marv Wolfman signed on his own accord after I was asking him some questions about a few other things. I've told that story here many times before. He more or less said that he had stayed on the Titans for too long, and this is the era I thought of, right? So great stuff, right? Got my Flash Gordon. We know I'm a Flash Gordon fan. And then I found this. This is hilarious. X-Men 97 apparently is supposedly a great cartoon that is on Disney Plus. And with me, and I'm sure many other people, that over the last 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years, for me going back probably 9 years to those horrible Star Wars Disney movies. To me, those are not Star Wars. Those are Star Wars like. Wolverine, they did the deed in the X-Men 97 where they have given on Disney Plus a new season of the X-Men cartoon from the 90s, picking up where it left off in 97. Believe it or not, as of this week, where I have been a little bit laid up recovering, it turns out not a lot of people are watching it, despite a lot of people saying the series is fantastic. And apparently, Magneto did the thing. He did the thing. They went back to the 90s where Magneto pulled the metal out of Wolverine. And if you were there, we had a noseless, horrible Wolverine for several years. It was horrible. So anyway, this is the hologram. This may be, I don't know, I have to look it up, but they came out with a set of holograms for X Factor, X-Men, all most of the bigger tier books of the mutant books back in the 90s. And some of the holograms were errors, if you will. They were not right, the colors weren't right, whatever. I don't know if this is one of them, but we'll find it out. And I thought I already had this, but because of the thing. But yeah, was the first time that we found out that Wolverine had bone claws underneath those metal claws of his after Magneto had pulled it out here. So let's go back here. Battle of the Planets ruined my Transformer and G.I. Joe viewing experience. I hear you. I completely understand that. Oh, look at this. The computer was working for a minute. Yeah. And I'm kind of curious on how your take was. Did you find it superior? That's what I thought. 40-year anniversary or crisis. Geez, okay. We are old. Yeah, absolutely, John C. Yes. Isn't that wild? I remember like yesterday. Asterix. We have an Asterix fan out there. Hey, Howler Mouse, I have almost a complete collection of Asterix. Werewolf by lunchtime. My friend, I have a few trades over here. I will probably never have the complete collection, but that is fantastic. I found it at a friend's house in the late 80s when the Disney Channel, that was the cable and satellite experience that only the wealthier of the people in town were able to have. Okay, man. Great that everybody has popped back up. We're doing a second attempt of showing off my hauls here. And I may be able to pop back on here in a minute to see my face, or maybe we won't. Let me check the computer over here. StreamYard and my computer did not get along. So we're going to just stay where we're at here with this. We'll move at a quicker pace so my phone does not die. Okay, and we'll just leave it alone there. Now, I am going to do a regular video showing up all this stuff that goes a little bit quicker than what we're doing. So right here, if there's ever been a video that I was very disappointed did not take off in the last couple of years, it was the video I did of Swamp Thing number 56 and of Watchmen number 4, because within several months of each other, Alan Moore did stories to where that the theme was the same, but we got to see how characters reacted different, right? It was fantastic. I thought it was a great contradiction in showing how you can put great characters in the same situation and you get to know them better. They stay in character, okay? So basically in number 56, Swamp Thing, the frequency of the green has been messed up. And he has been thrust off of Earth, and his essence has been floating through the green of space, and he ends up on the blue planet by himself. We get to see the beginning of the Swamp Thing in space during his sci-fi era, and this actually it felt like Alan Moore was rejuvenated. A few months later to a few weeks later, we had the blue Dr. Manhattan on the red planet of Mars, and he thrived. Where in Swamp Thing, loneliness and isolation, he kind of starts going a little bit mad, if you will. And this was also this blue planet. It's very wild how they did the trades. I have all this Alan Moore Swamp Things and quite a collection of Swamp Thing. I actually cut back on it last year to make room, got rid of lots of the Nancy Collins stuff and a lot of the Mark Miller stuff. But anyway, the Alan Moore Swamp Thing stuff should be reading. It's required reading. It just is. It should be required reading. It's one of the greatest runs ever in comics. But anyway, the way the trade is, I get a trade every now and then, if I find it pretty cheap, so I don't have to dig through the boxes. And I have the trade that has the sci-fi stories all the way to the end of Alan Moore's run here in Swamp Thing. Yet they don't start it with chapter 1, issue 56. So I bought an extra one just to put beside the trade. That'll keep me from getting by having to buy the first one to have the full one. But this is one of my favorite comic stories of all time. This thing over the years, as I have learned to appreciate it and read it more, is probably in the top 5 greatest stories in comics ever. For what it shows you exactly the medium of comics as an art form, what it can do with storytelling. I bought my first Asterisk books in the 70s. I'm 53 today. Well, happy birthday, Werewolf, by lunchtime. That is fantastic. I'm not too far behind you. Gore Vidal, I did find is superior. Yeah, yes. We found that Gatchaman, Japanimation, if you will, is superior. That's one of the reasons I didn't really get into the Transformers and G.I. Joe cartoons, to be honest with you. And I had a lot of problems with the dubbing that came out in the 80s with a lot of things we watched. And when the comic came out, the artwork didn't inspire me at all. Giffen, Chaikin, Byrne, Perez, Grail, Sim, Mobius. Look at that list of creators. That is fantastic. Had another artist had spoiled me. God, another artist had spoiled you. Absolutely. Guys, I'm reading this on my phone, so I'm just going to go through there. I loved watching Dave Sims art develop over the years. Gore, oh, absolutely, guys. Yep. Happy birthday. Werewolf by lunchtime gets happy birthday wishes. Make sure you leave them there. All right. Fantastic. So I'm not quite sure. I'm not saying where I bought these anymore. These are from flea markets and maybe a little bit of antique shop. Like I said, I got out here where I'm going back to work on Tuesday. I figured this recovery time, it's time to get out, start to get moving, to be prepared. And I found this little ditty, number 134, which is, I think, a minor key. But basically, it's the origin of the Vision. And I'm assuming we're finding out that the essence, I have always found the Vision's origin to be very complicated. And I also didn't care. The last time I really paid attention to any of it was in John Byrne's West Coast Avengers run, where we found out that the original Human Torch of the 1940s, 1930s, that's a whole history lesson in comics, if you will. We'll just leave it there. But anyway, we found out that the Vision's android body, his synthetic body, if you will, was not built from the remains of the original Human Torch. So whatever's going on here in issue 134, I'm a little confused because I thought that was a big revelation that John Byrne did. Usually I'm up on my history, my lore. I read the official handbooks of the Marvel universes, everything like that. But for some reason, I just never cared. I find these two characters fantastic, but I don't like the convoluted stories, and that's exactly what it was. Roy Thomas always trying to fix things that are going on. Here is a series that I want to be collecting. I thought I had 2 or 3 issues of this. I definitely appreciate this much more than when it came out in the 80s. And I also want to say that this was a direct market back in the day. So I'm not quite sure how I read 2 or 3 issues back in the day. So one of my friends must have had it, or maybe I grabbed it out of some back issue bins. But in the midst of having things like Watchmen going on, and who knows, even maybe Dark Knight Returns was going on, Dale Close, who you really need to Wikipedia who this guy is, right? He was friends with John Ostrander due to, believe it or not, John Ostrander had some scripting days, or he was involved in theater, maybe in Chicago or something. And Dale Close is somebody that, if let's just simplify this, right? He's very active in Hollywood and the New York scene. And if you like anybody from John Belushi to Tina Fey, this guy was a mentor to them, right? So Dale Close comes in, and these guys have started, they did, I think there's maybe 18 issues of this, but this was the horror book of the 80s at DC with Dale Close, John Ostrander, David Lloyd, William Messner Lodes, Don Simpson, a lot of underground guys and stuff, right? And this one, I was so glad to find it. You've got to be careful, because this is issue number 6, but there is an error issue. Issue number 5, that comes before 6, guys. Some of the error one had this exact cover. So you need to open your book and make sure you're getting the right one, if I remember this right? But anyway, one of the stories that they did is very meta, and I'm going to do a video, whether anybody watches it or not. I'm not real worried about it. But we have the big crossover issue where it's very meta. But we have Dale Close and John Ostrander standing there talking about we got to come up with a script for Wasteland that Mike Gold is going to give them, while Mike Gold is on the phone telling them he's going to murder them or get rid of them. And then for a crossover, they're like, well, you know what? Swamp Thing at the time couldn't be Millennium because it's an adult-only book now because of more. So they just have Swamp Thing crawl through the office door and cross over their desk. And as he does that, he drops one of his tubers. And then they're like, you know what, John Ostrander, let's do a story about that grave you have in your yard. And Dale Close is telling us that John Ostrander actually does have a grave in his yard. And, they get very meta and they talk about all the inside jokes they're putting in there, all the crossovers, everything they've done that's broken the rules of comic book storytelling. And I absolutely love this. Yeah. They even threaten the fans in the 80s, and they even talk about how that's not a good thing. She goes, let me find it here. Okay, kiddies. We've broken reality in this story, violated literary and comic standards, made cheap jokes, indulged in insider chit-chat. And that's only been to draw you in. And then they threaten the reader in 3D to come after them. So I'm not going to spoil the ending there, but I love that story, and I was so glad I found this book. This is one of the ones I thought I had. So Wasteland, well worth getting, in my opinion. Okay, what do we got here? Oh, Palo's here. I can't really, we're just going to have to do what we can here with the comments. You're a welcome, werewolf. A few people know my birthday. A friend of mine, frustrated, I won't tell her, designated April 1st. That's fantastic. We got Palo here, our foreign correspondent. Englehart's Avengers, hated by some, loved by many, including me. That's great. Oh, what's the secrecy? Gore Vidal's mystery birthday. Yeah. And now it's turned into a mystery among friends and acquaintances. Oh, that's fantastic. All right. He knows all their birthdays. Now, I'm not sure why I got this, but twice Marvel has come out with a reprint series of the Jim Starlin Warlock stories of the Bronze Age, right? There was a series of Baxter series paper, I think, special editions, if you will, that came out in the early 80s. And then they also reprinted them in I can't remember if it was the late 80s or early 90s because of Infinity Gauntlet, where they reprinted them as 6-issue series. They also did this with some of the Roy Thomas, Neil Adams X-Men. They did this with the Kree Skrull War. With Avengers over at DC, they were also doing it with the Neil Adams Dead Man stories, Jack Kirby's New Gods. So apparently the reprint thing was taken off in the early 80s. So between the Warlock series, special edition reprint series, where you get about 2 issues per book, and the one that came out where they just put new covers on them later in the, like I said, late 80s or 90s, I have the complete story. And for my birthday back in March, my wife got me the gallery edition. The Starlin Warlock stories. So I saw this, and like I said, these were super cheap, so I just grabbed the one I didn't have. Want to get through. And this was a spec book, guys. These books that I'm showing you here were probably $1 a piece. No, wait a minute. They were a little bit. All these books are a little bit less than $1 because they were $1 a piece. But when I grabbed a whole bunch of them, I said, "Hey, man, here's how much money I got. I got them for $3 or $4 less than what it would have been." So one of those things here where, yes, I'm going to be an old man shouting out there. We're talking comics here. But one of the things that really kills me with some of the spec channels, and it does seem it's laid off, is the fact that they will always try to move the goalpost on what is a first appearance. And so help me, I'm still kind of little touchy about Marvel with their 70s books, their Bronze Age books, of what a cameo is versus what a first appearance is. But that's a whole other story. But here, the significance of this Rust #1 by Adventure Comics, and I think Adventure Comics was Malibu before they decided just to go by Malibu. But first we had Spawn #1. first appearance of Spawn by Todd McFarlane when it came out at Image. Then they backed up, and there was a Malibu Sun. What do we call those? Malibu Sun preview catalog that had Spawn right on the cover telling us it was coming. So they tried to say that's the first appearance of Spawn. Well, this book came out, I want to say like in 91 or something. And Rust was actually sort of famous because it was watercolored by the artist. This is picking up after the Now comics that came out in the 80s and stuff, right? And I don't know how far back Rust goes. But the significance of this one is that they're trying to say this was the first appearance of Spawn before the Malibu Sun. And this one's a little bit beat up. So this came out in 1992, excuse me. It's also not watercolored anymore. And it's because of this back page. They're saying this is the first appearance of Spawn. A freaking ad in commercial. Okay, there you go. So, yeah, we got that. So people were going nuts for that for a while, if you're into that. And I got it for less than $1 by making a deal. I need to really rebag some of these as I'm seeing this as we go. So let's take a break here. I want to show you my vinyl I bought. Okay, so I do grab vinyls every now and then. I had a huge vinyl collection sort of through the 90s and stuff. Got rid of it, and I slowly have rebuilt it. And it's not something that I'm out to do. I'm actually getting the stuff I will listen to. So when I was 12 years old, Duran Duran, I want to say they were on hiatus. I refuse to believe that they had broken up. But yes, Hungry Like the Wolf, I was a Duran Duran fan, the Reflex. I'm still a Duran Duran fan. I have no shame about it, none. But we had Arcadia with Simon Le Bon and the keyboard player, which I'm going blank on. But we had two of the Taylor boys take off, and they did Power Station, where they rocked. Got to do a little bit more rock and roll with a dude named Robert Palmer, who, despite being around since the 70s, was really about to take off on his own. And we got this fantastic album. When I listened to this, and it came on MTV when I was 12, the neighbors in the apartment complex I listened to also listened to Bang A Gone and Some Like It Hot. This album, I could not believe I found in this great shape off an actual real dealer who knows his music at a flea market. But it also has the best sound for a guitar that I've ever heard, in my opinion, right? It's the stuff that I want. It's got the right amount of reverb. It is crisp and dirty at the same time. And this is the album that made me back up and try to find some of my dad's friends' records of T-Rex. And of course, whenever there is something that comes out before you're born or you were just too young, I tried to immerse myself in what was going on in the early 70s music-wise that would make T-Rex really stand out. So yeah, 1985, 12-year-old me is very, very happy. And if you cannot make out what's going on with this cover, this is the mouth. These are the sunglasses. This is the big 80s hair. And that's a breast. And if you turn it this way, it's okay. It's okay. So there you go. Power Station. Check them out on the YouTube. Okay, what do we got here? Power Station. I had the extended versions of some of their singles. Fantastic. I still listen to them. I enjoyed Power Station Arcadia albums, still do. I have both the albums, but no extended editions. See, I enjoyed Power. Oh, come on now, work with me here. Girls on Film, the uncut version. Yep, is one of my favorite music videos. Did you see the R-rated chauffeur video? I'm sure I have. Yes, I've watched all the versions of it, and I will double check there, Gore. Yes, but actually, and just to let you know, oh my God, what were they called? Missing Persons, Destination Unknown, Walking in LA. Their guitar player was with three of the original members of Duran Duran when I saw them in the House of Blues, I think in the late 90s. And the guitar player from Missing Persons, who used to be in a band with Frank Zappa, as much as the whole band of Missing Persons was with Frank Zappa in the late 70s. Whole other thing, but I actually got to meet that guitarist, and he told me the story about how he ended up in Duran Duran because one of the Taylor boys was doing a solo album without telling the rest of the guys in Duran Duran, And he was like, well, I'll be your guitar player because your boy is over there making a solo album. And he ended up being with Duran Duran for, I don't know, over 10 years or something. It was very cool. It was very cool. Yeah. All righty. So, what is the significance of this? The god awful turn that Frank Miller took with Jim Lee of Batman and All Star Batman and Robin, the Boy Wonder. This was something that people were very excited about. But me being me, with my comic book history knowledge and stuff like that, was really amazed that it was going to be Jim Lee and Frank Miller, because from what I understood through word of mouth, that when Jim Lee was doing Death Blow, that's what it was called, guys, Death Blow, in the 90s at Image, at Wildstorm, he totally ripped Frank Miller's Sin City style to do his Death Blow book. And from what I understood, I heard that Frank Miller was not happy with that. So when this came out, like, I don't know what it was, 10 years later, maybe, I was totally surprised that these two were going to be working together. I'm like, I guess that was just dirty rumors and stuff. And then people started reading this. Why did I get number 9? Because I had the series, I sold it, and over the years I have somehow accumulated 1 through 10 minus number 9. So when I ran across number 9, I'm like, why not just have it for the sake of having a complete Batman series by Frank Miller and Jim Lee. So the All-Star Batman and Robin is actually after Batman Year One, and then you start getting the idea that perhaps this is the real beginning of the Frank Miller Dark Knight Returns universe, with the way he's treating Robin and some of the stupid stuff he does, and how Frank Miller was actually crapping out a lot of DC's characters and stuff. Read the Green Lantern issue if you just want to see total disrespect. So we'll just move on from that. But yeah, that was the completest thing. And now, I found this. This is a beat up copy. I should have looked at it before I had it. But yeah, this is the second appearance of Carnage, part 2 of the story. I do have part 1 and part 2. And for a while, I would buy part 1 and part 2 at flea markets for $1 a piece, put them on eBay, take that money back, put it back in my comics. I was finding it left and right for a while, and I finally settled down and kept one. So I get this one, and there's a big water stain on the back of it. That's all right. I have a mint cassette, a mint copy, and I'll figure out something to do with that. May just gift it to somebody that's really looking for something. So now we're going to get into the obscure. I will not waste your time too much with this, because there are books that I am interested in. And over the last couple years, I have really started becoming fascinated with the 80s Epic line of comics that Archie Goodwin was more or less editor over, and all the things that were going on there with Epic. This was their version of some creator-owned comics, just to put it down there, and they were different. So Swords of the Swashbucklers, I'm trying to complete it. Moonshadow, I absolutely loved. I would just see the ads in comics during the 80s for this stuff. Black Dragon by Chris Claremont, John Bolton. I've looked up and been able to get a lot of these. And in the midst of doing his Justice League stuff, at the time that was huge, we have Keith Giffen doing some stuff on the side. He did a few New Universe books. He did a couple issues of Justice. He had a issue of Starbrand. Can't remember if he got in. Anyway, we'll just leave it at that. And over here, he's doing Video Jack. And this is his take on people watching too much TV with Video Jack, but he does it Giffen style, right? So I had issue number 1. So I'm trying to find all 6 issues, and so I can read the entire thing. I'm not expecting Shakespeare here. Keith Giffen in the 80s. You're either into it or you're not, and I can't really recommend it. You know what I mean? So I got 3, number 4. Like I said, we have Alien here and stuff like that, and then we have number 6, which is huge because every now and then if you watch Rick and Morty, Bart Simpson, if you go back to an issue of John Byrne's Sensational She-Hulk, there's a trope of storytelling where you do channel changing. Rick and Morty do he sets up a cable box, more or less, satellite box, where he can show you television shows from other dimensions and things like that. And this is what happens here in Video Jack. I flipped through this because of all the people on the last issue. Stephanie DeStefano, Keith Giffen, Michael Gilbert, Fred Hembeck, Kevin McGuire, of course, McGuire is going to be in there, Jose Martin, Trina Robbins, Walt Simonson, Jim Starlin, Bill Ray. We get 2-3 pages, maybe, well, 1 to 3 pages from everybody because Video Jack and the protagonist are fighting through channels and stuff. So, yeah. You know, like I said, if you wanted something different and experiment and cheap, I'm checking that out. And then Nightbreed. I'm a huge fan of Clive Barker's Nightbreed movie. I know exactly what it is. You know, I like the director's cut. I tried reading the book. It was hard. But to me, I absolutely love the story of Boone and Nightbreed. I absolutely love it. And I thought I had this #1. I don't know what happened to it. Marvel, through their Epic line, did 25 issues of Clive Barker's Nightbreed. I think the first 4 issues are just the retelling of the movie, and then they move on from there. This one is a little bit beat up. I have no idea why it's not in my collection. Like I said, there's some printing issues on this one. But you know, it is what it is, if you will, right? Oh man. So let me get this. So yeah, #1 of that I found for cheap. That will do until I find a better grade of one. And if you look up these Clive Barker books, it is a niche market and they can be hard to find. Here's also #3. Like I said, I'm building it back. And I have the trade of the first 4 issues with like a Mike Mignola cover. May have already shown this one, but yeah, #8, Dark Horse Comics presents. I'm really trying to collect more concrete. Now that I am older, I can appreciate concrete more. I read some in the 90s, Killer Smile, who knows what else and stuff. And I was like, okay, I get it. It's different, and just kind of moved on with things. I was reading things like James Robinson's Starman and stuff. I like a little bit more action, in my art and stuff, right? So I've been running across a lot of concrete, and usually there's just better things to buy. And then I had to replace this. I showed this a few weeks ago. I need to take this back. I got this at a comic book shop. Actually paid the $6. Got it home. It is severely water damaged, so where the pages are sticking to each other. So I got on eBay, and for much cheaper, I got a replacement copy. And I looked up, that thing came to like $2 or something. All right. So there's where we're at, and we're starting to get ready to get to the good stuff, right? So I found a Flash Gordon free comic book day. I think I showed this Asterix, the Gotchamon. Okay, I've shown this stuff. So let me make some room, and we will get to the last 2 stacks here of the good stuff. There's actually 3 stacks. So let me put this stuff up so we don't have comic books everywhere. See what we have here. Uh-oh. The award for best epic comic still goes to Still Grip Starkey and the All-Purpose Power Tool. Oh, that's great. Still Grip Starkey. One of those issues of All-Star Batman and Robin has a nice Batcave fold out. Yeah. I mean, it's got its pluses. The Jim Lee art. Jim Lee was trying to save that book, no doubt in my mind. And I've always kind of wondered if Frank Miller may have had some passive-aggressive aggression in it, Yeah, the GD Batman and Robin just hit puberty. Yes. Okay, Zappa. Hot Rats is a great album. I will check that out because it feels like Frank Zappa has 400 albums, and I keep listening to Apostrophe and was it Joe's Garage? Yeah. Likely it was Andy Taylor who made the solo album. That is exactly who it was, and it kind of bombed, but I enjoyed the video. Like I said, I was a Duran Duran guy. Power Station is like Duran Duran minus Duran. Absolutely. Love it. All righty, guys. Let me put these up. Okay, guys, now it's going to get serious. It's going to get serious. Let me go ahead and show this, tell the story here. All right. But yes, this is the Dark Knight Returns. due to a divorce back in the 2000s, I had acquired untouched first prints for $1 a piece off of a gentleman who had owned a comic book shop in the 80s and early 90s, and he was getting rid of his stock, if you will. So I ended up acquiring, amongst many other things, 6 issues of Watchmen and the entire Batman The Dark Knight Returns, and they were untouched because he would go through the books that would come into his comic book shop, and he would pick out the best ones, and this was what he was selling. With things that I was buying, like Doom Patrol 51, Animal Man, Flesh and Blood, a few other things, some Watchmen and stuff like that. He stopped everything. He noticed me. This is in the year 2000. And he ran into his house, and he brought out his hardback edition of Seasons of the Mist by Starman and a few other things. And he told me that he had Kelly Jones, the artist of Seasons of the Mist, come to his comic book shop and stay with him. And he told me stories and about Kelly Jones staying with him. He and his wife had gone to I don't know, I can't remember, maybe a Walmart, a grocery store. We went to a grocery store and they saw Boo Berry cereal. I want to say he said Kelly Jones was living in California, and this guy was like up in Maine or something before he moved to outside of Tennessee. And Kelly Jones and his wife had bought up all the Boo Berry cereal and shipped it to their house. And then as he was sitting in his living room, Kelly Jones just reached over, saw Seasons of the Mist hardback in his bookshelf, reached over there, and he saw him doodling in it. And he did this magnificent piece of Morpheus the Sandman on the inside of that book. And it was magnificent, guys. I wish cell phones had cameras back then. I would have took a picture. But anyway, that was 24 years ago. So I ended up selling that to Cavalier Comics and Wise around 2008 due to divorce. And I have since accumulated another first prints of 1 through 4 over the years. So anyway, the place that I was at, I'm not going to give away my honeypots because of assholes who watch these, and I'm running into them there. They watch my videos locally just to find these places. And I've been running into them. This happens every couple of years. But anyway, I found this. This is 1 through 4 of Dark Knight Returns, and this thing was taped together, and the man had a set price, and the price was not that bad. I walked away, looked at my wife, said, I can't do it. I went back, got it, okay, and I took a chance to see if these were first prints. Well, it's okay. Number one, like I said, I have a full run of first prints, and then I have tons of extras of 3 and 4, right? So this is a third print. This is a third print, right? These two are first prints. I don't even know if they made a second print of number 4, all right? So this is fine because for what I paid, these two are still worth about $35 despite being third prints. And these are worth what they're worth and stuff, right? So this came over to $100, right? And then this is my third copy of this Spectacular Spider-Man #2, the magazine. I believe this is from 1968. That is a painted cover by John Romita. And this is one of the things where I'm recovering my childhood. I have the copy that the stepdad had in the house in the 70s, has no back cover. I found another one a few years ago, and then I found this one, and this one is in fantastic shape all the way through. So the trick with the magazine, I used to know this trivia a whole lot better, so grain of salt right now, because after the video is over, after this live stream is over, I'm going to be like, holy crap, I remember everything now. But basically, they were doing, Stan Lee and a few of them were trying to figure out ways to get around the Comic Code Authority, and they figured out that magazines were the way to go, despite the fact that he did an anti-drug story and the Spider-Man, what was it, 98, 99, 97? I don't know. It's some Amazing Spider-Man comics in the high 90s that do not have the Comic Code Authority. So why is this magazine all of a sudden there? Well, first of all, Spider-Man became their figurehead. It was selling huge. But by putting it in a magazine, they could have got away without having the Comics Code Authority, from what I understand. Now, that definitely changed in the 70s. So we're going by my speculation, and I could be completely wrong about the 60s, right? But anyway, in magazine form, they get by with a little bit more. And this has a LSD symbolic little part of the story where Spider-Man, Peter Parker, gets hit with a pumpkin bomb and he hallucinates. And this is during the big drug culture of the 60s. So everybody read into it as LSD. Let's put it that way. But this is fantastic. John Romita art, Stan Lee, maybe writing it. It says he did. Who knows? Who knows who did what? But I absolutely love this. But Spectacular Spider-Man magazine #2. And what we have here is a very beat up. I ran across in an antique shop. I ran across a ton of Vampirella and creepy books. Unfortunately, when I would pop those bags open, those things were smelled horrible. And this is one that didn't, right? But this is fantastic because it has a Planet Mars special issue, right? Sci-fi monsters. This references everything that ever had to do with Mars. Wally Wood has a story in the back of this that he wrote and drew where we see the Martians. Oh my God, I cannot be going blank right now. You had the Martians from John Carter of Mars. He also, in the story, Wally Wood also included the Martians from the trading card series. Why can I not think of that? We just watched the movie that Tim Burton did of the card series in the 50s. I cannot believe I'm one blank on it. But anyway, in the 70s, anything that was a Martian alien, Wally Wood threw them all together in a short story and stuff, right? So creepy #7. 87, excuse me, by Warren Magazine. Like I said, there was a ton there. I could have got these real cheap, but the reason they were real cheap is that they smelled horrible. Now, as you can see, this one still had a little bit of stink. I've already put a dryer sheet in it to start working on that smell. Okay, and then I got these for 50 cents a piece at a yard sale. This is some magazine that came out for the 85th anniversary of Superman, and we get a history of Superman. And to be honest with you, I got these this morning, so I'm not quite sure who put this out yet. I haven't really had a chance to go through it, but where they were 50 cents a piece, I went ahead and got both of them. Apparently it was $14 when it came out, which is why I don't buy a lot of magazines, you know. So yeah, the history of Superman, right? What do we have here? What we got here? Yeah, I think I've read these. What we have here? The Gray Man has entered. Nice. And I bet Werewolf by lunchtime. Yeah, saying hello. Okay, guys. So now we're getting to some good stuff. I'll go ahead and we'll do these, right? So at a flea market, I've done the math. I can't remember how many books it was, but by rounding up to the 100th, if you will, or the 10th of a decimal and stuff, right? I can't remember. I had something like 34 books, 33 books that I got for $25. Okay. Is that right? But anyway, during the whole day that I was there, I think I spent $35 on comics, and I left one upstairs. That's all right. It's a Treasury edition. $35, 40 books. And so remember, these all came to 88 cents, right? So back in the day, around 84, 85, the A-Team was on TV. That first season was a huge hit. We had Hannibal, B.A. Baracus, Murdoch, Face, and I want to say her name was Tanya, maybe Tanya Baker. I don't know. They had two women on the show that I remember. So I moved on to other things by the time I was 12. And the show was huge, and you could get all 3 issues of this and A3 for $1 pack, right? Mine disintegrated over the years, so I grabbed that one, right? And then this is a George Perez cover on Star Trek. When it comes to this Star Trek series by DC that started in 84, I bought this. I don't know why it wasn't in my collection. So about a year or two ago, I figured out it wasn't in my collection anymore. I bought it when I was 11. So I got it, and lo and behold, I found out it was a George Perez cover. So they had them there, so I got 2 of them, 88 cents. And the significance here is that this had the characters from Wrath of Khan in it. So that pulled me into the book. And I quickly figured out that Mike W. Barr is just not the writer that I wished to be on Star Trek, if that makes any sense. So I always try to look out for Lin Wein and Peter David writing Star Trek. They brought in Tom Sutton to do a lot of the art throughout the series and Gray Morrow. So I believe this is the DC Volume 2 of Star Trek. Volume 1 was an adaptation that Marvel did of, I believe, the first movie, and then you had the Gold Key books before that, going by memory here and stuff, right? Just grabbed a random Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Adventures by Archie number 13, because it was in there. I love my Turtles from 84 to about 92. That's my era. And then I found these. These were actually a 3 for $1 pack, but like I said, I'm taking the total of what I bought, where they're all break down to where it was 88 cents. These were 3 for $1. So there was a series I never heard of through Dale called 13 Going on 18. I think a lot of these are Archie inspired during the 60s. I want to say this is 1964. I'm not real sure, but yeah, there you go. Very Dobie Gillis feeling for me, man. I feel like that, despite not having blonde hair, that feels like Dobie, and that feels like Zelda if you watch the many loves of Dobie Gillis. A 1962 Sugar and Spike, beat up and not attached by its stable, but I still have a Sugar and Spike, 1962 DC. Oh man, I looked up the prices of these. I have a beautiful copy of a Silver Age Marvel book, the new Millie the Model, 160. I've already read this stuff. It's fantastic. And my friends, this blew my mind because this is about $100 book. I cannot believe this one, but this is Life with Archie number 46. This is around 1966. And if you see something here, we have Pure Heart. Archie is a superhero, and we have the origin of Pure Heart the Powerful, right? Turns out that this is a key book because this is the second appearance of Archie as a superhero. And in the back of this, there's an editorial where they were saying, in the April issue of Life with Archie a few months ago, we debuted him as a superhero, and you guys went nuts. And they give you a list of 4 or 5 comics to be looking out for because he's going to return. I love the Archie characters as their superheroes, if you will, right? So little did I know that this is the second issue, right? Now, here's what's wild about the guy that had these 3 for $1. They had a few other issues of Archie. They had the issue before this was a parody of The Man from U.N.C.L.E. It was the girl from Ridgeway or something, right? That seems to be a huge key book, okay? And if you guys saw me last year in an antique shop for $3.95 or $2.95 or something, I got the controversial issue that you see in memes all over the place of Betty and Veronica, where Archie is carrying out Veronica. I think it was a Betty. He's carrying out one of the girls at the beach, out of the ocean, and he's beat up 2 guys to get her out. And he says, I had to beat off 2 guys to get you out. So I seen when I buy my Archies, I look up finding some really cool books. I would say this is mid-grade, probably about a $50 book now. That blew my mind. Archie's Madhouse. These are actually worth a little bit of money. I will buy anything that has a Halloween feel to it. I love that stuff. And then we have these. Now, these books, there's X-Men number 1 from 1990, Spider-Man number 1 from 1990, X-Force number 1 from 1990. It blows my mind when these books are worth anything, because these books set records. There was easily 1 million sold and up. There are 1 million of these each book out there in the world. And people were buying multiple copies, and they gave this multiple covers. Now, what's sad is once I got home and looked these up on comicbookrealm.com, there is a $490 book of number 1 with some kind of variant green back cover, or I don't know, variant cover on it. And it has to be bagged, and I think I passed that up with this guy, right? So anyway, there were 2 of these in there. And as I was going through the box, see, here's the thing. I ran into this one guy at the flea market, and he seemed like a nice guy. I have been fooled before. And when you go to these flea markets, I'll throw out a little tip. You need to stop looking for just the comic book boxes as you're walking up and down the aisles, because a lot of these people will just have them laying on the table, or they'll have them in plastic bins like this guy did. You would not know they were comic books. this gentleman and I found him about the same time. He got there about 30 seconds before me, if I had to guess. And as we were going through the two bins of comics, he was holding up things like he was letting me know he's looking for McFarlane's Spider-Man, and he was holding up Spectacular Spider-Man issues, telling me they were keys, and they weren't. But I didn't want to be that guy, so I found two of these, and I went ahead and gave him one because I found two of these. These are 40. These are worth about $45, and like I said, these all came to about 88 cents. But this guy here, I got like 33 books off of him or something, and gave him $25. But I got two of these. This is the gold edition second prints, and the bags were horrible. These were worth about $45 a piece. The second print, guys. And what amazed me is that I pulled these off the old bags. Whoever had these before, let's get that in the light, had actually put never opened. Okay, so no one was supposed to open these. So whoever that guy bought those books off of, or if he got them at an auction lot or something, like I said, I had two. There was two of these there, but I can't remember what are these, $30 books maybe? I don't know. But those are mint condition. If I was into grading, I would send those off to grade. And then I'm not going to say where I saw this, right? Because I don't want to call anybody out, but I can't remember if it's a Facebook group. I'm pretty sure it's a Facebook group I'm a part of. And the difference with the Facebook group I'm a part of is that it's people I actually know. The group is founded by somebody in Independence, Mr. Anderson, that you hear me talking about. And a lot of the people in there live around here, and we sort of know each other and stuff, right? But the person who posted this very comic said where he found it at, and he tried to act like he bought it with another book. And what was amazing is that no, he didn't. He totally lied. So I don't want to call it out and stuff, right? Because when I got to this particular flea market, there it was, the very book that he said he bought at this flea market in his post, right? And originally the person wanted this for $40. I talked him way down, and I'll go ahead and tell you it was about 25 is what I got this for. So what is this? I mean, I just assume people know. But this is the last issue of Sergio Aragonés's Gru the Wanderer with Epic Comics / Marvel Comics, as you can see, after 10 years, issue 120. And supposedly, the thing about this is this book, I don't know what the sales were, but Sergio Aragonés has a whole audience that really doesn't follow comics, don't follow Mad Magazine and stuff. So I don't know what the sales were. But like I said, there's a big, huge editorial in this. Mark Evaner's just saying it's time to go elsewhere. There will be other Gru adventures. It was technically just the end of Gru through Epic Comic Books, and they went to Dark Horse, and I think they played around with the Image and went elsewhere and stuff, right? Well, look up how much this book is worth. It sells for over $100 on eBay because it's a last issue. I don't know if it had a smaller print run. I don't know what the sales were, but Gru has always had a little bit of a cult following. It still has a cult following. Considering the character's been around for 40 years, well over 40 years, 42 years, I'm sure a lot of those people have aged out, passed away, gotten older. It was getting too hard to find Gru, but Gru, I've never found anyone who's like, I hate Gru, So yeah, the last issue of Gru, I actually paid a little bit less than what it should have been. Anyway, that was in the wrong stack. That was a different flea market. So this one right here was the same flea market. This is why I gave the guy that I was telling you about one of those silver covered Spider-Man #1s by McFarlane. I can't believe this. I wanted this book during the 80s. There was a little bit of time in the 2000s I wanted this book. And then I found one last year, and I was able to pay for it. Still got a good deal on it. And now I find one for 88 cents. When the person and I that I was talking about, where he was looking for McFarlane's Spider-Man, he actually picked up a bunch of comics. And when he did that, this was sitting right there. He perfectly picked up the stack to where this was unbagged in the stack of comics, of Spider-Man comics in Peter Parker's Spectacular Spider-Man, with a bunch of Sal Buscema drawn issues, right? And I just kindly said, "Do you mind if I get that?" And I just reached over there and got it. So as we're going through these books, and I had guilt. So I threw him a bone and gave him one of the, when his eyes lit up when he saw that Spider-Man #1, I was like, here you go, you can have it. This is the first appearance of Cloak and Dagger, and I about fell down when I looked up the value of this, because apparently it has gone up again in the last year. I think, grain of salt, this is a $145 book that I got for 88 cents. I was like, oh, wow. So yeah, I now have 2 copies of the first appearance of Cloak and Dagger. And guys, maybe I have read too many adventure books and stuff, but I've just realized that with all the stuff that I've read and naming characters and stuff like that, I thought Dagger was spelled with 2 A's, not that E. Or maybe I didn't. I don't know. I think that's hilarious, right? So let's check this out. But yeah, I've got a $100 book, a couple $45 books, a $50 book, a $145 book. I'm probably repeating myself, but I got a couple $100 worth of books for $35, 88 cents a piece, which blew my mind. What do we got here? I have an old video of James Sundell. I don't have much from him, but I have what I love. What's going on here? Oh, wow. We have a ton of them here. What do we got here? Tanya was the second one. The first one was Amy. Talking about A-Team. Thank you there, Paolo. That was fantastic. As long as there is a Tanya and I'm not nuts, because I was like 10 years old when that show came on. George Papard wanted the chicks gone from what was a guy show. Amazing. Howler Mouse, did you ever cover James Handel? No, I have not. And the name is ringing a bell. Why am I going Alpha Flight? What's that name making me think Alpha Flight? Paolo. I can see Paolo being a character on A-Team. He would replace Face. See, I have an old video of James Handel. Read that. Oh, we got some James Handel stuff going on, right? There we go. Yeah, there's a little talk there. Never read a bad Gru. Neither have I. Exactly. I have probably been read Gru off and on since about 85. Yeah. I've been a Sergio fan thanks to Mad Magazine for as long as I remember. There's no hating Sergio Aragonés. There's only regret he never have really collected his stuff. Absolutely. Well said. Okay, guys, the last one, and there is something cool in here, okay? Or at least in my eyes. Last stack, we're doing good. What we got here? Yes, James Handel took over. James Handel took over from James Handel on Alpha Flight. Bill Mantlo. Yeah, took over from Bill Mantlo. Yeah, I don't know why James, that's exactly where my mind went with James Handel. Fantastic, right? Okay, Time Warp, you either know what this is or you don't. There's just a few issues of this anthology series. Great Mike Kaluta art, Steve Ditko, Dave Newton. You either know what this is or you don't. And to be honest with you, I never really hear a lot about Time Warp in any back issue vids or hauls and stuff. But when they do pop up, it has popped up over the years. I have seen people get excited. Just a few issues of this. Great Mike Kaluta covers, usually great writers in here, but this is exactly what it is. It's hardcore science fiction that DC was putting out as a dollar book. Number 4 of Airboy. And what is the deal? Does anybody know specifically why people are going Dave? Is it Dave Stevens? I don't want to make this mistake. It's been a long day and stuff, right? But what is going on with all the people getting all excited about the Dave Stevens covers and stuff? And the reason the significance is number 5 is a Dave Stevens cover where we get the re-debut of Valkyrie and the Airboy thing, right? But where I found this, I hit one guy who actually had boxes. I think he drove down from Ohio or stuff. And there was a guy that I knew, and apparently he had a buddy, and his buddy had done a thing where you could tell he felt a little bit superior, thinking, he'd went through the boxes before me. Meanwhile, I've already got all the books I just shown right before they were there. And they were all excited. I got looked at. My buddy looked at me and went, he pulled out a Dave Stevens cover there. And I'm just sort of like, well, yeah, I've probably got about 20 at the house, but I have seen the spec talk. I have seen the eBay prices and stuff. So I don't know what this is going on with these, everything that's going on with him, right? So I don't know if nostalgia is hitting me or what is going on of all the characters of all the books, but when I'm finding these Fury of Firestorm, the Nuclear Man, this is number 4 with Killer Frost in it and things like that. But I find myself accumulating this book. I had some Firestorm. I may still have some, but I carried around the first appearance of Blue Devil and like Firestorm number 24, 25, 26, whatever it is. I had a few. I had the Crisis on Infinite Earth issues, which I thought were fantastic for what was going on in '85. And then I had a issue where it was Multi X. Anyway, there was a character who could make multiples of himself, and right on the cover, Firestorm is getting jumped. We'll say it's around issue 16. I don't know. But for some reason, I picked up a few a couple months ago. And a couple months ago before that, I picked up a few, and they're usually quarters or 50 cents or maybe even $1 every now and then. But I find myself loving the Pat Broderick artwork in there. I love myself. I don't know. I couldn't stand this character when he was on Super Friends and the Galactic Guardians, if you will. The superpower shows when they brought him out and stuff. Right? It's like they were trying to make a thing of him. Anyway, and then we got an issue of Marvel Age, and look at this one, number 99. Marvel Age books are getting hot, at least with these people at the flea markets and stuff, right? But the significance of this one is that not only do we have fantastic Dennis, well, it's Dwayne Turner, but I thought it was Dennis Cohen. But anyway, we have a special 7-page preview of the Infinity Gauntlet by Jim Starlin and George Perez. Can you believe it, folks? And the Black Panther returns with Don McGregor and Dwayne Turner. Plus, Marvel takes on the Terminator. Plus, Mark Grunwald reveals the method to Marvel's convention madness. And Fred Hembeck versus Thanos. Yes, he did it before Captain America, apparently. Sing along with Marvel, complete lyrics to the Marvel cartoon shows. Look at that, guys. Look at that. Forbush Man and Thanos. You just cannot get by that, these days, right? All right, let's check. We're coming in there. We got here in his most famous piece of Lex Luthor, the Unauthorized Biography. Oh, I have 2 copies of that by James H. Hundell. I think that came out in '89. Hundell wrote Fire Case from Malibu and Harsh Realm. I love that James Hundell has a fan in here. That's fantastic. I just know that Rocky Horror Picture Show Time Warp song. I'm reading through Showcase Presents Adam Strange. So James Hundell, are you saying that he did the comic book adaptation, that 3-issue comic book adaptation of Rocky Horror Picture Show? Because I have 2 sets of that. I did Rocky Horror Picture Show from 1993 up until about a year or 2 ago, and I know I'll return. Actually, in the county that I'm in, believe it or not, in '93, I brought it here to the county from living elsewhere, which blows my mind. 1994, excuse me. I'm reading through Showcase Presents Adam Strange Collection. Oh, that's fantastic. Locally, Dave Stevens books are hot. The Chanel Noir covers are selling for a lot of money. Yeah, I've been hearing a lot of this stuff. I don't get it. I pick up every Airboy I find. Yeah, I'm getting close to having all 50 issues that was recommended to me. I am back. Yes, I made it back, my friend. Just one. What do we got here? Just one convenience store. Here we go. Just one convenience store carried Firestorm. I had to walk a long distance to get it. Same with the Flash. It was like that was the town. It was like that in the town I lived as a kid. Another store had Batman and Detective. I completely understand that. And a 4th carried Crisis, Titan, Legion, and X-Men. Oh man, yeah, I've got a video years ago where I show where Little Hallermouse bought his comic books over the years, and it broke my heart because so many of the places were like abandoned. Yeah, there's an interview with Jean Pierre. on Eurocomics YouTube channel. It's French though. Oh, I still check that out. And if you guys haven't checked out Tubi, Tubi has a ton of new comic book documentaries. One about just comic book shops in general and stuff and their decline and things. Right. Anyway, so here we have this. Right. This blew my mind. I have She-Hulk #1, Savage She-Hulk #1, the first appearance of Jennifer Walters as She-Hulk, it's her origin story and all that stuff, right? And it blows my mind. As a kid, I was a huge Spider-Woman fan because she had a Saturday morning cartoon and I thought her costume was groovy. And then the She-Hulk came out, and even I knew as a kid that this was like for the copyright purposes. I had an idea what the copyright was, and I knew what plagiarism was and stuff. Probably watched some TV show or something where they were talking about it. Probably Happy Days or something. Who knows? Some show where some kid probably got one of his buddies to turn in a term paper, or they stole it from somewhere. So the paper chase. Anyway. So yeah, I kind of got that. And even as a kid, I knew this was like just for copyright purposes, female versions of these characters, they printed them out, right? So no big deal, right? And the TV show was god awful and everything like that. So it blew my mind when I found these, and like I said, 88 cents a piece. And it turns out that the second appearance of She-Hulk is also a $45 book, I think. And these are newsstand, and I'm not going to say that they're mint, but they are in fantastic shape. But you should have seen the bags I took them out of, man. They were turned into Vaseline. So there's 2, 3. I have the entire run now. Number 14 is not in this stack, but I already have it over here. Why? Because it has Man-Wolf in it. So enter Iron Man. I think all but 2 of these are newsstand, and only 2 of them are pretty beat up. But I also think I've had this one. This is one of the ones that may be beat up. They have Mike Golden characters, Mike Golden covers, and this one is I don't know. Some character pops up in it. This is a key. This is the key with some character first appearance of some character you never heard of. Absolutely love the feathered look of the times. Mike Golden. I totally get why Mike Golden has a huge fan base, and I told the story where he threw me under the bus when at a comic book convention, and I thought he was going to ask me out to go hang out and have a beer. The whole thing after hearing these horrible things about him towards his fans. Turns out he was cool to me. Here we go, number 13. Yeah. So I have the second part of this Man-Wolf anyway. Kind of blows my mind how every now and then Marvel tries to act like there's a thing between Man-Wolf and She-Hulk. Who knows? It's not so much that this one is beat up. This was not in a bag for 40 years, apparently. But I just thought it was cool to have the Savage She-Hulk full run. I probably had about 14 of these 25 issues over the years and stuff, right? So yeah, if you're a She-Hulk fan, you're about the only people that would want to see these. Yeah, talk about getting lazy. Oh, Al Milgram here. Nobody escapes the Seeker. That reminds me of, what is it, Avengers 26, the Kong issue, where the Kang. We have a huge Kang right here, and we have our little Avengers down here at the bottom. And people for decades were like, "Is that a John Romita cover? Is that a Kirby cover? Who drew that?" And there was a big mystery. More She-Hulk. The She-Hulk War. Man, I'm going to tell you, man, Marvel, 1981, they're not all winners with Marvel. This was the same time they're doing Kazar, and I think that I got a complete set of the Kazar book at the time. I mean, there's a lot of painful stuff going on at the time. And here it is, the trope of our character walking away on the cover. There should be a sunset on there, a green sunset, if you will. But at least I got Terry Austin to come in to ink this cover. But at the end of the She-Hulk at number 25 in 1981. So her book lasted 25 issues. And if I remember right, she popped in on the Avengers and became Fantastic Fours and She-Hulk. She got decent clothes on to where it looked like she was aerobicizing all the time because she had her leg warmers and her leotard. So yeah, great stuff, guys. So that's it. We went a lot faster than I wanted to. So let's check these. Working on my phone. My goodness. All right. Yes, Lex Luthor, the unauthorized biography was fantastic. He's back. Okay. Here we go. Speaking of that, there's an interview. Oh, yeah, I already read that one. Sorry, guys. At my shop, let me see here. At my shop, I like to wind up some of the. Oh, let me stand up here. At my shop, I like to wind some of the customers by calling her She Woke. Same with the Hulk. He is woke. And Deadpool is Dead Wool. They're dumbfounded why I don't like the character. Yeah, and it's obvious, man. It is so. Oh man, it's just so bad. I saw an interview with Terrence Dick from Doctor Who Classic Years. I don't know. I didn't know he got to start writing the Avengers TV show. Oh, that's fantastic. Did anyone win that 10-speed racer? I looked. I wondered. I wondered for years who they did. So, guys, thanks for everybody that returned from take one of that disaster of a live stream. Thanks for everybody that popped in here and looked at these books with me. Well, like I said, it is May 25th. It is Memorial Day weekend here in the States. We are ending this at 1:14. We did this on my phone. So hopefully future, ring that, make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you liked this channel, this video, give it a thumbs up, and make sure you hit that bell for whenever I pop up on here doing these live streams. And I will probably do a quicker video, just a video, not a live stream, just on these new books. That seems to work out well. And I hope everybody enjoys their weekend. It's turned into a beautiful day. I actually have the window open with some sunshine coming in here. Um, and yeah, just be excellent to each other. Okay, guys, later. Great to see everybody. Make sure you're subscribed too, I guess, and all that stuff. Later.